I called him insecure for checking my phone. Now he found out I was cheating the whole time. They say the truth always finds a way out. No matter how deeply you bury it, no matter how many lies you pile on top, eventually, it claws its way to the surface. And when it does, it destroys everything in its path. That's what happened to me. I called the man who loved me insecure, mocked him for not trusting me, and tried to convince him he was the problem. But in the end, it wasn't his insecurity that tore us apart. It was my betrayal. So let me tell you how it all started, and how one moment of weakness, one selfish mistake, turned into a storm that cost me the love of my life. I remember the first time he picked up my phone without asking. We were lying in bed, his arm around me, the kind of comfortable silence that only exists when you really trust someone. My phone buzzed, and before I could grab it, he did. Just a quick glance at the screen, nothing more. But the look on his face, it shifted. Suspicion flickered in his eyes like a shadow passing through sunlight. "Who's texting you at midnight?" he asked. His tone wasn't harsh, but it cut me anyway. I laughed. Too loud, too defensive. "What, are you insecure now? Do you think I'd cheat on you?" I said it like a joke, but really it was my shield, my way of flipping the blame. And it worked. He apologized. He pulled me close, kissed the top of my head, and said, "I trust you." But the truth, he shouldn't have. Because behind that laugh, behind that playful accusation, was guilt. Real, heavy, choking guilt. Because the messages he saw were from someone else. Someone I should never have been talking to. It hadn't started with the intention of cheating. That's what I told myself anyway. It started with a simple conversation online, a little harmless flirting, a what-if scenario I thought would never spill over into real life. But what if quickly turned into why not? And before I knew it, I was juggling two worlds. With my husband, I played the role of the loving wife, the supportive partner. With the other man, I let myself escape into a dangerous thrill, convincing myself I deserved it because life had gotten boring, because love had started to feel too routine. Every time my husband asked to see my phone, every time his eyes narrowed when I pulled it away too quickly, I used the same line. "You're insecure. You're overthinking. You don't trust me." And every time he backed off, ashamed, as though he was the one who had done something wrong. But lies are heavy, and mine began to weigh on me like stones in my chest. I started noticing the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes anymore, how his laughter felt forced, how he'd sit quietly at the dinner table, staring at me like he was searching for the woman he thought I was. One night, he finally broke. "I don't know what's happening," he whispered, his voice trembling, "but I feel like I'm losing you, and it's killing me." I looked him in the eyes, and for a second, I almost told him everything. I almost confessed, begged for forgiveness, promised to change. But fear won, so instead, I reached across the table, grabbed his hand, and lied. Again. "You're just insecure," I said softly. "There's nothing to worry about." That was the last time he let it go. Because a week later, he stopped asking. He stopped accusing. He stopped looking at me with suspicion. Instead, he started digging. And he found everything. I came home to silence. My phone was on the counter, unlocked, open to messages I had prayed he'd never see. Conversations, pictures, confessions, proof of everything I'd denied, proof that his insecurity had never been insecurity at all. It had been instinct. He was sitting on the couch, his hands shaking, his face pale. When I tried to speak, he held up his hand to stop me. "Don't," he said, his voice cracking. "Just don't." The anger I expected wasn't there. No yelling, no accusations, just devastation, the kind that doesn't explode but implodes, swallowing everything in silence. I begged, I cried, I dropped to my knees, clutched his hands, and whispered every apology I could think of. I told him it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that he was the one I loved. But he didn't believe me. He couldn't. You made me think I was crazy, he said finally, tears streaming down his face. You made me believe I was the problem, and all along, it was you. Those words will haunt me forever. He packed his things that night. No shouting, no slamming doors, just quiet movements, the sound of drawers opening and closing, the rustle of clothes being folded. I followed him around the house, begging, pleading, promising I'd do better, that we could fix it. But when he reached the door, he turned to me one last time. I would have forgiven almost anything, he said, his voice hollow. But not this. Not the lies. Not the way you made me doubt myself. And then he was gone. Now I sit here, staring at the empty side of the bed, drowning in the silence I created. I called him insecure to hide my betrayal, but in the end, I was the one too weak to face the truth. And now, I'm left with nothing but regret. They say when you betray someone's trust, you don't just lose them, you lose the version of yourself that existed in their eyes. And I've lost both. If you're listening to this, take it as a warning. Don't play games with someone's heart. Don't cover your guilt by tearing down the person who loves you. Because eventually, the truth doesn't just come out. It burns everything down with it. And trust me, once it's gone, you'll realize too late that the fire was never worth the spark.